When an unknown singer by the name of Lady Gaga released her first record in 2008, few could have foreseen the indelible mark the young singer-songwriter would leave on pop culture in the years to come. Her emergence on the music scene was akin to a pop meteor hitting Earth that would transform the music landscape as we know it. So just how did she pull it off, and who were the key people that made it happen? Why wasn't Akon's rap used for Just Dance? What Swedish singer did RedOne model Gaga's sound on? Why did Interscope think Gaga might be better kept as a behind-the-scenes songwriter instead of being out front as a music artist? How did the Pussycat dolls and New Kids on the Block really feel about Gaga supporting them on tour? And what's the truth about how Interscope broke Gaga in the music industry? So many questions, let's find out. Our Gaga is arguably as talented a businesswoman and marketer as she is a singer and performer. And that's really saying something, because everyone knows that Gaga is one hell of a musician. Gaga from the very beginning understood that in pop music, the persona is almost as important as the songs. She knew she needed something more than just great pop songs to truly capture the public's imagination, and she had a clear strategy to create excitement and maintain a buzz around her at all times with her eccentric costumes and performances, which would grab media attention, set the internet alight, and help her achieve her goal of being the biggest star on the planet. And Gaga knew that the inaccessible superstar of yesteryear would no longer work in this new digital era of hyper-connectivity. Right from the outset of her career, Gaga made it her priority to interact regularly with fans online, giving them the name Little Monsters to help build her community. In fairness, Mariah had been calling her fans lambs for years, but when Gaga gave her fandom a name, all of a sudden others took note and followed suit. And it wasn't long before Katy Perry was calling her fans Katy Cats, Rihanna's fans became known as the Navy, and Beyonce's the Beehive, and there were countless other examples of other artists who followed Gaga's lead. Gaga was quick to develop an emotional bond with her fans and to build a strong online community. She somehow seemed to be a larger-than-life superstar, but also a very accessible and human person simultaneously. And of course, there was also the minor detail of the full backing of an international record company that went all out to break Gaga. When Interscope finally determined they should go for it, they committed to spending a lot of money, says an unnamed source. He says that he heard someone ask an Interscope executive, "How did you guys break Lady Gaga?" And the executive said, "We threw the building at it." But behind all the wacky costumes and the promotional strategies, Gaga had the goods to back it all up. Her career would all have fallen apart if Stephanie didn't have the talent to back up her theatrics. The product at its core, the musician and her songs were outstanding. In the late 2000s, whilst Facebook and Twitter had been established a few years earlier, social media was still very much in its infancy, certainly compared to where it's at today. But with the launch of the first ever smartphone, the iPhone in 2007, a digital and communications revolution was born. Smartphone technology lit the match for the explosive growth of social media over the last 15 years. And in the mid-2000s, celebrity culture was at its height, with stars such as Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton dominating the pages of gossip magazines and websites, most notably Perez Hilton's bitchy blog. Before the advent of smartphone technology, getting your fix of gossip culture wasn't as accessible, and celebrities didn't have their own platforms to instantly connect with their audiences. And as a result, during the 2000s, the high demand for photos of celebrities sparked a feeding frenzy among the paparazzi and gossip media. And the late 2000s also saw the worst worldwide financial crisis since the Great Crash of 1929. The crisis, of course, triggered the Great Recession, with economies throughout the world experiencing severe downturns, unemployment soaring, and many people facing financial hardship. But in the midst of the crisis lay opportunity, for some people at least. The timing was perfect for some art and culture that would reflect these economic changes, and maybe even for some pop music that would provide some glamour and escapism from the harsh realities of the time. So it was against this social and political backdrop that Lady Gaga's debut album was born. After getting dropped by Island Def Jam in 2007, Stefani Angelina Germanotta soon rebounded. Her mentor and the man many credit with having discovered her, Rob Fusari, introduced her to Vincent Herbert, who quickly snapped Gaga up for his label Streamline Records, part of major label Interscope. Songs such as Disco Heaven and Beautiful Dirty Rich, which Gaga says she wrote to a backing track whilst dancing around in her bedroom, had already been written at this point with Fusari. And unbelievably, the two songs were on the demo, which got Gaga dropped from Island. Martin Kirzenbaum, who was an A&R for Interscope at the time, also signed Gaga to his Cherry Tree Records, another subsidiary of Interscope. Martin was also responsible for co-writing 4 tracks on the Fame, including the title track, which were recorded in his garage where his studio was at the time. Years later, he co-wrote Holy Water on Madge's Rebel Heart album. And it was Rob Fusari who introduced Stefani to one of the most significant people in the Gaga story, a Moroccan man by the name of Nadir Kayat, better known as RedOne. Like Gaga, RedOne had struggled for years to succeed in the music business. He had grown up the youngest of 9 children in Morocco. In his late teens, he had moved to Sweden to try and succeed as a musician. One of his first breaks came with the Swedish pure pop act, the A-Teens. When he moved to America to further his career, he soon struck up a close working relationship with Akon. Previous to working with Gaga, the Moroccan producer had been working closely with 2000 singer Kat DeLuna. After Fusari connected the two, RedOne met Gaga outside the Sony building in New York, and the two instantly hit it off. In an interview, RedOne recalls that when he first met Gaga, she commented that she loved Kat DeLuna's wind-up. The two started working together immediately, going to RedOne Studios in Queens straight away after that initial first meeting. The first song they wrote together was Boys Boys Boys, inspired by Motley Crue's Girls Girls Girls. When Gaga met RedOne, after years of writing songs and experimenting with different genres, she finally made sense of what her sound was. Just Dance, the song that would put Gaga on the map, was apparently written in 10 minutes after her ladyship had had a heavy night partying. Just Dance and the other tracks done with RedOne were recorded at the Record Plant studio in LA. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly from 2018, RedOne talked about how Just Dance came about and how other artists reacted to Lady Gaga at the time. For Just Dance, I wanted to do a rock song with big drums, but instead of guitars, it's synths. That's what Just Dance is. The opening synths are like a guitar chord. I began taking her to every session I had with other artists too, but as a writer, and every artist got scared of her and asked me not to bring her again. She was so creative, giving them ideas about how to dress and how to behave, and they started feeling so small. And Gaga started crying like, I just want to help them. And I said, yes, but keep those ideas for yourself. And it wasn't long before RedOne's friend and influential music figure Akon heard Gaga's work and also wanted to be a part of the Young Stars team. Whilst major labels sign lots of new artists every year, they can really only get behind a small handful, who they then pour all of their money and resources into. In the interview with Entertainment Weekly, Akon says it was after hearing Just Dance that he took Gaga's songs to Jimmy Iovine, head of Interscope, and convinced him to make Gaga a priority artist. Initially, Jimmy suggested giving Just Dance to the Pussycat Dolls, but Akon talked him out of it. Apparently, he also had reservations that Gaga might be too similar to Gwen Stefani, but Akon again allayed any concerns he might have had. But it's abundantly clear that having Akon in her camp was instrumental in getting Gaga pushed forward as an artist. There has been speculation over the years that before these developments, Interscope had doubts over Gaga's viability as an artist, and their main concerns were unbelievably her looks. This issue was covered in Maureen Callahan's book on the superstar. It was apparent to Interscope execs that Gaga was special, but her presentation was still a problem. Unless and until that was resolved, she was best kept in the background as a songwriter. Interscope is a long road, which involves a lot of people thinking she's great to have around, but not pretty enough to be a pop star, said Brendan Sullivan. I can speak to this having sat through many marketing meetings where this project was discussed, said an industry source who wishes to remain unnamed. With the breakthrough of writing Just Dance, recording continued on the album at a rapid pace. In the interview with Entertainment Weekly, Akon says that every song he was involved in was written in half an hour, and that all their work on the record was wrapped up in 30 days. RedOne also says in the interview that for Gaga's sound, he was hugely inspired by 90s Swedish singer Layla K. One of Gaga's greatest inspirations and one of the main influences behind the fame was, of course, American artist Andy Warhol. Like Andy, Gaga believed that pop culture could be high art, that fame culture and celebrity could be an art form in its own right. And like the legendary artist, she too made sex, celebrity, and riches dominant themes in her work, and wanted to merge different art forms such as music, film, art, and design. In interviews from that era, Gaga talked about the philosophy behind the fame. You have the ability to self-proclaim your own fame. You have the ability to experience a certain amount of self-worth, which comes from a very vain place, by simply your choices, your opinions about fashion, about music, about politics, the way you walk down the street, the way you carry yourself at parties. You can literally choose to have fame, and that's what this whole album is about. I honestly do not care what people think about it, because I'm not posturing that it's good or that it's bad. And Gaga also made another nod to Andy Warhol in almost all the videos from the Fame era. Andy Warhol had had a Harlequin Great Dane named Cecil, only his was dead and stuffed. Warhol was said to be a fan of taxidermy, each to their own I suppose, and Gaga featured Lava and Rumpus, two Harlequin Great Danes, in promos for Poker Face, Love Game, Nothing Else I Can Say, Paparazzi, and later for the Bad Romance and Telephone videos. Released to US radio on the 8th of April 2008, Just Dance unfortunately did not set the charts alight initially. American radio were simply not used to its underground electronic sound, and it was considered too European and not a good fit for their airwaves. Originally it was Akon himself, not Kobe O'Donis, who was supposed to rap on the track. But record company politics proved to be a problem, and Interscope's parent label Universal refused to clear his vocals. It was only 2 days before the video shoot in LA that Gaga got confirmation that Akon's rap wouldn't feature on Just Dance, so his protege Kobe O'Donis had to fill in instead. Undeterred by these setbacks, Gaga took to the road. At this point, the singer had already spent years cultivating her stagecraft and persona in clubs on New York's Lower East Side. And to promote Just Dance and to build a grassroots following, Gaga would perform pretty much anywhere that would have her, including high schools and amusement parks. And in addition to that, she would do multiple club performances every night. Despite the slow start in America, Gaga's courage in her convictions did not wane. In an interview with the British Independent in 2009, Gaga talked about American radio's initial reluctance to play her music. This is too racy, too dance oriented, too underground, it's not marketable, and I would say my name is Lady Gaga. I've been on the music scene for years and I'm telling you, this is what's next. According to Maureen Callahan's book on the superstar, Poker Face, Interscope hired a number of PR companies that specialised in the LGBTQ+ communities to help Gaga gain a foothold in that market, to connect her with the right people and to help her secure gigs on the gay circuit. Lady Gaga's first ever TV appearance came that May on the new Now Next Awards on Logo TV. Another crucial early TV performance was the 57th annual Miss Universe performance in Vietnam. She also featured on an episode of the MTV docu-soap The Hills in September 2008. Just Dance was finally beginning to build some steam and entered the American charts at number 76 in August 2008, 4 months after it was first released to radio. The video for Poker Face, filmed in September, was directed by Ray Kay, and at this point word was starting to build about this exciting new pop artist on the rise. And Gaga got a little bit of help, upping her profile from an unexpected source. When pop icon Christina Aguilera took to the stage at that year's Video Music Awards, her new look and sound got tongues wagging, but not really for the right reasons. Performing her new electro-inspired track and sporting a black PVC catsuit, blonde extensions and bangs, it all looked and sounded suspiciously like Gaga herself. But the accusations of copying and the ensuing coverage worked in Gaga's favour, helping her to gain lots of media attention. And incidentally, it was actually the first time that I came across Miss Gaga. Different countries initially proved to be more receptive to Gaga's sound than others. Just Dance reached number 1 in Canada in August and in Australia in September. The Fame debuted at number 17 on the American album charts in November, which was a decent start. Gaga was now building some real momentum and the American music market was beginning to warm to her charms. And after many months, Just Dance was starting to climb the American chart. By the first week of December, it finally made it into the Billboard Top 10. Gaga's hustling was starting to pay off. And throughout these many months, Gaga worked overtime on her social media, regularly engaging with her new fans and uploading behind the scenes footage of her life on the road entitled Transmission Gaga Vision to the 2000s relic MySpace. And for her many visual ideas for videos and performances, Gaga knew she needed a team of creatives, who she named the House of Gaga. Gaga had her disco stick and her video shades, two of the main icons from the Fame era, both built by a NASA engineer, at the cost of $15,000 each. And it was at the V magazine shoot in May 2009 that she met Nicola Formichetti, who would also play a significant role on her creative team. In an interview with the New Statesman in 2009, Gaga talked about why her visuals were so important to her work. It's all about everything coming together, performance art, fashion. For me, it's a real story that will bring back the superfan. I want to bring that back. I want the imagery to be so strong that fans will want to eat and taste and lick every part of us. Gaga and her team also drew inspiration from a wide range of influences, including Isabella Blow, Daphne Guinness, Grace Jones, Lee Bowery, David Bowie, and of course Madge, amongst many others. A shrewd marketer, Gaga knew the importance of having a signature look and focused heavily during the earlier part of the Fame era on shoulder pads, hoods a la Grace Jones, and plenty of leotards, trouserless styles, a marketable look that would become readily identifiable as hers. Fame era yielded some truly iconic pop culture moments. Gaga took the world by storm, not only with her catchy electro beats, but also with her brave, show-stopping costumes and theatrics. There were the exploding breasts, which she premiered at an award show in Canada. There was also the orbital headpiece she wore when she appeared on Ellen, the posted dress on Jonathan Ross's chat show, the coat made of Kermit the Frogs in Germany, the black mask completely covering her face in Malta, performing alongside Madonna on SNL before they fell out, and that show-stopping performance at the 2009 VMAs where fake blood dripped across her body and ended with Gaga hanging by her arm from a rope with blood splattered across her face. It would have been the main talking point of the evening if it hadn't been for the infamous Kanye Gate. And Gaga and Kanye's joint tour, the Fame Kills Tour, was subsequently shelved, mostly due to the backlash the rapper was facing from his recent stage invasion. And Gaga was soon gracing the covers of all the world's top magazines, including Rolling Stone, V Magazine, Elle, and Billboard, amongst many others. Just Dance took over 5 months to reach the top of the charts in America, making it one of the longest climbs to the summit in chart history. And in early January, the song also reached #1 in the UK, meaning Lady Gaga was now an international star. Videos for Nothing Else I Can Say and Love Game were filmed back to back on the weekend of the 9th of January 2009, with Joseph Kahn directing in Los Angeles, but with a New York setting. And by March, Gaga's second single, Poker Face, had reached #1 in the UK and US. And Gaga's eccentric performances and costumes soon became an object of fascination for the British tabloids. Gaga Mania was now sweeping the world, but there wasn't much time to celebrate. Her promotional duties continued on at a feverish pace. Her ladyship had now achieved some solid commercial success, and at least to me, this seemed to be the juncture where Gaga became even more Gaga. She now had more money at her disposal, and her record company seemed to give her even greater creative control. Her outfits became even more outrageous, and so too did her following promo, Paparazzi, a 7-minute short film music video, the likes of which hadn't been seen since Michael Jackson in the 80s. In a bid to build a following, Gaga was a support act for the New Kids on the Block and the Pussycat Dolls at the beginning of her career, both of whom were signed to Interscope, so that's presumably how Gaga got the gigs. In October 2008, she joined the New Kids on the Block for the North American leg of their tour and the Pussycat Dolls in Europe in early 2009. Gaga started to outshine the headliners on both tours and was regularly singled out for praise in reviews of the shows, which was said to have led to jealousy on the tours. Well, imagine if you were the headliner and you got upstaged by your support act. You'd be annoyed too. And Gaga's intense work ethic showed no signs of abating. She would play club dates in different cities after the New Kids concerts. Speaking to Variety in 2019, Jordan Knight from the group had this to say about working with her. The coolest thing about her is she made her own clothes. I don't know if she does it now, but she used to. She would come in and say, "I made this, how do you like it?" She was so creative and talented and a great singer. Everyone knew she was destined. And in the years since, the Fame has undoubtedly become one of the most seminal records of the 2000s. Before its release, electropop music was rarely played on American radio, but following its subsequent success, Gaga single-handedly brought EDM to the mainstream in the States. and it wasn't long before others followed suit. DJs such as David Guetta and Calvin Harris started to dominate international airwaves. The Black Eyed Peas and Katy Perry soon adopted EDM sounds. The following year, Christina Aguilera released her electronica album Bionic, which was mostly panned by the critics for trying too hard to sound like Gaga. For her next album, Beyoncé let go of her father as her manager and took more creative control of her work. And post-Gaga, Riri also started taking more risks, for example with her Rated R album, and she too went for more of an EDM sound on her 2010 album Loud. And the same year, a new female rapper by the name of Nicki Minaj arrived on the scene, with plenty of colourful wigs, eccentric outfits, and even dabbling a bit in EDM. The Lady Gaga effect was plain for all to see. I'm not saying these artists copied Gaga, but she definitely paved the way for the EDM sound and more adventurous artistry in music. It seemed that after Gaga arrived on the scene, everyone started making more of an effort with their visuals, taking more risks with their styling and their performances, packing more hits on their albums, and just upping their games in general. It's really hard to see how so many of the eccentric pop stars we've seen over the last 15 years would have existed without Gaga in the first place. And with the release of Paparazzi and subsequent promos, Gaga made the video an event again. Gaga became to YouTube what Madge and MJ were to MTV in the 80s. And perhaps, along with the Biebs, became the first real superstar of the digital age. The song that American radio originally didn't want to play, Just Dance, eventually went on to be certified in 2023 11 times platinum in the US for sales of 11 million units. Just Dance and Poker Face became international mega hits, smashing all sorts of records around the world. Poker Face became the biggest selling song of 2009 in Britain, and the fame would go on to sell just under 20 million copies worldwide. A few years before Gaga's ascent to superstardom, she is said to have once told an ex-boyfriend, "You won't be able to order a cup of coffee at the deli without seeing or hearing me." And by winter 2009, her prediction had well and truly come true, dominating the pages of gossip of other artists who followed and her record company seemed to give her even greater Lady Gaga had a long and bumpy road to stardom, and if you'd like to learn more about how she was dropped by her first record label, check out this video. And if you got value from this video, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.